Cal, welcome to Early Days.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I spent my whole life chasing you. When will you come home to me?
Appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to come on the show. I know how difficult it is to be building, uh, building a startup and then trying to fit everything else in there.
Yeah, definitely.
How much of a just learning curve has it been since you've started building Shopstr?
Well, it's definitely been pretty significant, especially coming from like just normal corporate tech, like, and only being in it for like less than a year. Like the need, the requirements, like the technical capacity, just like the having to think about things that are just also outside of tech in general, just like the marketing, customer support, all this stuff. It's definitely, it's a big leap, big difference. But if it's, I think like the key thing that makes it really easy is that this is actually something I'm really passionate about, and like so all the hard stuff just doesn't really feel like work. It just feels like, oh, this is something that needs to be done, and I want to do it. So.
Yeah, it's such a great attitude. Do you feel like it's been all passion so far? I mean, I feel like Shopstr itself has gotten very popular very, very fast. Um, do you think it's the passion of just the huge kind of community that you've been able to grow outside of it? Like, what do you think it is that's been made you to want to pursue it that way?
Yeah, definitely. At least very, very early on, like it was all passion, right? Because especially when we first launched the site, no one was using it. People, it would just be like a bunch of test posts and a bunch of stuff like that. So it was all just like really just trying to like build a tool that could potentially solve the problems, like the vision that we really wanted to have. And yeah, ever since then, like now that like we actually have used customers using it and like things being sold, people like actually like, give support to, like it just kind of builds on top of the passion. Like now, and it's not only just the passion of like trying to realize this vision. It's also like, oh, I'm helping people and like really kind of helping them realize like their dreams and like their like small business visions and stuff like that. So it's a really it's a beautiful thing to a beautiful cycle to be able to like be a part of that, and just like reinforces everything, even when like things get kind of tough. Like it just kind of like pushes me forward to like kind of keep working on it and like hope that people are actually benefiting from it. And I see that people are benefiting from it. So that's like the biggest motivator now, that like people are actually using it and they are actually gaining value from this, which is really cool to see.
Have you when you guys came up with the idea, or when you came up with the idea, whoever it was, like, did you have like an aha moment? Because I remember when I saw it, I had that aha moment for myself when I saw it at Shopster. It was like, this is how it should look. But did you have that initially when you conceptualized?
I think like for a bit, especially at that towards the end of the college, I really wanted to like dive into something like on my own and like just try building out stuff, especially like in the Bitcoin space in general, because I had been like really passionate about it. I heard like by the time I was like, I think I've like, been in Bitcoin since like 2022 or no 2020, my bad, since 2020 or 2021. And since then, I'd always wanted to contribute, but I hadn't really like had one the technical capacity or really like any connections or just like ideas to really like build on top of it. And it was once I saw Nostr come out that I was like, oh, I can actually, this is like so simple and very easy to build on top of. And like this actually, like the reason I'm on Nostr actually primarily is because I see that Nostr as like the main driver for Bitcoin adoption in the future, not so much as like a social media platform or a free speech thing. It's like the reason I'm building on is because I want Bitcoin adoption to become easier and simpler for more people to do. And yeah, once I saw Nostr, like kind of clicked and made me realize that, oh, okay, like we can actually start building applications that make Bitcoin adoption a lot simpler and a lot easier. Not necessarily just marketplaces, but just being able, like, just simply like how we see like Zaps, like people can earn money Bitcoin by just like posting something, shit posting, putting things like that, and it makes it very easy to earn your first Bitcoin and be able to like be like, oh, okay, like this is an interesting thing, and I can like, it's not just like a number go up. It's not just a thing for like super rich people or blah blah blah. It's like it's a permissionless money technology that I can really use. And yeah, like Nostr really just unlocked the ability to be able to like build for and build on top of it, and realize the vision I think that Satoshi wanted is like now we have like a perfect pairing of like application development and like the money system, and like we have like a really beautiful coupling that can really like just flourish and start sprouting up so many different like very interesting things and new niche things, because like basically Nostr just socializes everything, and like it's a really interesting stuff that can really like come out of just having a social graph attached to your identity that isn't like locked into a specific network. It's just like an open thing that anyone can connect to. So it's really, really, really cool to see.
Do you think Shopstr would have been born without Nostr, or do you think it would have come otherwise?
I don't think it would have been born without Nostr, or like it might have potentially with like a different protocol or something. But because like the biggest thing is that, well, first off, like one of the like initial things that like kind of brought the idea of like wanting to build like a marketplace, permissionless marketplace, was the Silk Road. So I actually went to Ross Ulbricht's like university when he was an undergrad. So he was like definitely like somewhat of an inspiration. He's like the most famous guy from our university, which is funny. But like his like building of the marketplace, like using Bitcoin and stuff, was like, oh, this is really cool. Like it'd be really nice to build out a free market system. But obviously, like the way that Ross built it, it was like in a centralized database. It was like not necessarily resilient, because like obviously he controlled it. He was able to, or at least his team controlled it and was able to take down posts, like do things like that, manage it in a proper way. And like once Nostr really came about, that really opened up the ability to kind of remove a lot of the liability that operating a permissionless marketplace does. Because there's been other attempts at it, like especially in like the crypto space. But again, like they kind of fall on the issue of like there's kind of like a somewhat of a central issuer, central controller that kind of dictates what can be operated within the market. And like now that we have the relay architecture of Nostr, it really allows us to like divide out the liability and the risk associated with operating this type of business. And that's like the main, Nostr for sure is like the main reason why Shopstr exists in the first place. And like obviously like Bitcoin and everything just makes it even more extra seamless and more permissionless, which is like the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. So do you think there's a way for Shopstr to exist in like I guess let me rephrase that question. So the way Shopstr exists right now in Nostr, and right now we have like a ton of Nostr users and Bitcoin users using it. Do you think it'll get to a point to where you'll have normal, everyday, say eBay users using something like Shopstr at some point? And if so, how do we get there? How do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's definitely like I guess like somewhat of the end goal is kind of moving people out of that centralized, gated network that eBay, Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, all these people control. Like that's like one of the key visions, is just to like kind of open up the marketplace like space and be able to interoperate and make things very, very seamless. And yeah, I think like it is that, since that is the goal, I think it is possible. The thing that is really necessary and actually that makes, and well, one of the key things that kind of simplifies it that I feel like is the use of eCash. So like now with eCash systems, you don't have to like push all the responsibility of being able to like operate a Lightning node, because like typically Lightning is what's primarily used for like smaller payments for like online transactions, and like or like running your own, holding your own keys, or doing all these things, or like even understanding what Bitcoin is in the first place. With eCash, you can very simply like since it's all it is like a string of text, you can very simply just like send a message to someone, and then at the application level, I can like show that string of text as a US dollar value or something, or just like some local fiat currency value, without having to actually show or tell the user that, hey, you're using Bitcoin. They can just be like, okay, I'm still like, they're still like they're still normies, they're still in the fiat world. So like they operate on like the fiat standard, like, and whatever local currency they're using. And really the only thing that merchants or like people using these websites is they want to be able to receive money for the products that they're listing. And the way that we get them to actually start using Bitcoin and Nostr and all these things is to kind of sneak it in, like kind of trick them into like using the systems that we use, and then realizing and opening their eyes to like the fact that, oh, I'm underlying all this stuff is this permissionless technology. It's Bitcoin, there's Nostr. I can operate traditionally, I can operate without having to use the traditional banking system, without having to be locked in to whatever network I'm like stuck in. And you can just very easily have free flowing transactions. And once they realize that like, okay, it's actually simpler and it is actually a better experience to work within the system, then they can actually get converted and start operating and working within the they get the Bitcoin and Nostr ecosystem, and not necessarily having to, again, touch the legacy system. It's the key thing is just making it as seamless as possible, because and I feel like eCash really gets the job done in that regard, especially when it comes to just like showing what money you're receiving and just being able to receive money in general. Because one tough thing about like using either on-chain Bitcoin or Lightning Bitcoin natively is that the user who's receiving the payment has to have a Lightning wallet or a Bitcoin wallet, just something that is interoperable with it. And with eCash, you can literally just send them a message. You can text them over iMessage, and now they have some Bitcoin that they can run with. Sure, it's a custodial solution, but most people are, one, the banking system itself is custodial. So like whatever money you're receiving on eBay, Amazon, all these things, like the bank could seize at any moment. But now you have one, anonymity with the eCash stuff, and also just ease of use. It makes it very simple, and you can like just render it in any way that you want to. And that's like the very powerful thing. Just like the simplicity and ease of use is like one of the key things that is necessary in the space, especially now. And like eCash really delivers on that.
Do you think there's do you think like, so like the thing about Nostr is like there will be other people that'll be doing different versions of something similar that you're building, right? And you're aware of that, and you guys are all working together on that. Can you talk about the different ways to get to revenue for something like Shopstr, or something like for some of these other guys that are also building on the same stack, quote unquote, with eCash and like Nostr and using certain NIPs and stuff like that? Can you talk to how you're looking through that lens with building out in public like that?
Yeah. So definitely, there's obviously like the somewhat obvious solution. So it's like taking a fee on transactions. And like one thing that's actually quite powerful about it is that the fact that we're using Bitcoin and eCash systems in order to facilitate payment, we can massively undercut like the traditional marketplace like fees that they take. And that's another like benefit that could kind of convince like normal users to start getting onboarded, because like, oh, I can keep like 99% of my money, because like I believe eBay is like, I think eBay is the lowest fee if I'm not mistaken, and they have around like a 15% fee, which is pretty freaking high. And like Shopstr, at the moment we don't have like a fee rate, but we have like a optional donation instead of like a mandatory fee, and like it's a roughly 1 to 2%, and basically on every transaction everyone has donated money. So it's just like we can massively undercut. And like obviously like in order to actually make it sustainable, you need to have volume, and that's like I think the biggest driver at the moment. That's why trying to make it as simple as possible will get us there. And other things would be like simple paid advertising, and we can kind of flip it on the head a little bit, because like now you traditionally like you pay, it gets displayed on the homepage, and then you hope that someone converts. But now with like the open data network of Nostr, you're actually able to like kind of facilitate a little bit more directed and just a bit more targeted, more accurately targeted ads towards like individuals that might actually be more likely to buy if like discussing it on Nostr or something like that. And since you're paying using like Bitcoin, you can actually very simply kind of like flip like the ad model a little bit. So instead of just clicking on the ad and buying the product, if I interact with the ad, or if like I'm interested in it, I could actually get paid back a few sats, because you could lock up some sats to the ad and then be able to unlock some of it. And like that kind of like drives a little bit more of like customer trust between like the buyer and the seller and the site, and then also just more engagement and like people like wanting to come and like be able to be like, oh, okay, I can browse and like actually earn some money by just browsing, and then maybe I want to buy something that I actually like. And it's just like a slight differences on like already existing pricing models. And then for Plebeian Market, which is like another marketplace company, essentially, they're one thing they have for like their revenue model is like a value for value. So like since you can just very simply pay you like directly using Lightning, they have like a little like scale that you can like adjust. So you can like set like, okay, I'm gonna give 5% to Plebeian development. I'm gonna give 5% to my local farmers market. I'm gonna give 5% to this charity I want. So like you can there's like just having it up front and being like, hey, we have like this donation set up. You can adjust like how much you want to donate from your sales, and like just have that automatically happening. And by default, obviously keeping it just like at a specific rate is a very easy way of just being able to earn a little bit of revenue, because probably for the most part, most people aren't going to change default settings. So if you, as long as you make it like obvious to the user, like, hey, you're actually we're taking this percentage from you by default, but you can edit it, then it's like it's a pretty good way of doing things. And yeah, now we're still, I think, especially at in the Nostr level, we're still at the stage of trying to we're still at the stage of trying to realize the actually truly novel payment models, because like we're still, most of the developers that are like working on Nostr are still one, protocol level developers and application developers, so they can't really focus 100% of all their time into the product itself. They can't just like tailor it perfectly, because we still have to build out some of like the core infrastructure to allow their applications to be like built out. So yeah, like there, and the beautiful thing about that is also that like once there's the data is already out there on the Nostr protocol, and like once there's like an actual spec that allows you to like interoperate very easily, you can just very simply like spin up a new application without having to worry about like, oh, is anyone going to try it? Like I need to get people to start using it. You can just like you have the data there, you can just start testing it out immediately without having to like rely on just like other people having to come to the site. Like the data exists and you can just tap into it very seamlessly.
Such a good point that you made about about there's not a
You're
specific
muted.
person. Oh, my bad. Where am I at? Oh, am I muted still?
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So it's interesting how you said that about the not somebody really focused on the product, when they're building, because they're like protocol developers and they're just application developers, but then you kind of need somebody with like an idea for how to make revenue and then designing a product that has like a roadmap at least to getting there. Because I think when I think about Nostr, I think the biggest hurdle I think that a lot of people are going to have to figure out is how do we get past the kind of like if everybody's playing in the same pool and we're all using the same users, like what's going to set the use case apart. And when I see Primal, I think Primal's doing it the right way, where they're clear. I mean, I don't know if they're implementing all the NIPs, but they seem to be implementing the ones that work for Primal, the ones that Primal wants to work on. And then they also seem to be charging like a monthly thing, even if it's like $5, and then you get like a badge or something. And it's such a clean way of doing it. They have a built-in wallet solution. Have you thought about just keeping it dead simple? Just something as simple as that, where it's like, no, I use Shopstr because, and I pay for Shopstr every month because I want Cal and the rest of the guys to like keep building it, and you focusing just on the product itself, on Shopstr, making Shopstr as great as it can be. And then I think the other thing that would be cool is like getting every payment option available. And I think you mentioned it with the fiat rails too. But I think even having like for people that want an on-chain, or people that want a Lightning, or people that want an eCash or Cashew or whatever it is that they might want. And I think Zaprite has figured that out really well with how they do things modularly. And it would be interesting to see like Shopstr be able to take all these different pieces from all these other companies have kind of proved a use case, whether it's Primal or whether it's Zaprite, and just build that into the marketplace without having to worry about the other people who are also building similar marketplaces. So, have you thought about much of those ideas? I'm sure you guys have those conversations, but
yeah, definitely. Especially with like the Primal premium type stuff, like having like a premium like service is like kind of that's one of the things that'll actually be coming out eventually, like pretty soon. And like you'll be able to like, I guess like Fortnite kind of proved how people actually do care like they're willing to pay for vanity things. So like literally just having a Primal Legend badge is like, people are willing to do it because it's like, oh, I'm an early supporter, I'm doing all these things. Especially since like Nostr is so early stage, that's like probably one of the easiest and most seamless ways of getting people to actually start paying for it. Like Damus did the same thing. They have Damus Premium, and like they offer like a translation support, specific like persistent like data like on the relay and stuff like that. So it's a cool way. It's a very simple way, and like the traditional way of just being able to like start monetizing early on and seeing if there's people that are actually interested in the application. So yeah, definitely that's one of the most powerful things. And like we'll probably eventually have we've been thinking of exactly what we're going to want for the premium features, and at some point we're probably going to integrate like accounting management, being able to like manage like your if tax liability, if you want to like manage that, all that stuff, and just having like a bunch of things that streamline the merchant process, and like the people that are actual heavy users that want to be able to like be able to get their tax reports, or just be able to like track everything and make sure that everything's being processed properly, and like just give them the ability to do that. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think that could really, I mean, I know you want to build and
Mm.
support the other people that are also, competing in the same area as you are, but at the end of the day, like you have to make revenue for
Yeah, yeah,
yourself and
100%,
Shopstr.
100%.
And then also too, I feel like, um, I think the one good thing that Nostr has going for it is you guys all share users. So if,
Yeah,
let's just say hypothetically Shopstr went and like did more silo things, not all of it, just like some things are siloed, just like some things are siloed in Primal and Damus, vice versa. Like that's only going to bring more users to Nostr.
mm.
So doing siloed things is not a bad thing because everybody's using the same user stack. So
Yep, yeah,
if
yeah,
you bring more users doing your own version of things, that's good for Primal. That's good for everybody. Because they're going to be able to bring, and then people are going to choose which is which, right? Like these days I'm using Primal because I think it's just a better experience overall
mm.
than some of the others. And I think Amethyst does really good things. I wish there was some Tor support on Primal, but that's
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But like other than that, like that's like one thing. But I think there could be a similar thing in the marketplaces. I definitely think you guys have like at least the brand lead as far as I can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like the thing that makes the usage of Bitcoin and all this stuff very powerful is the fact that we can actually like share users, but kind of monetize in a more niche scale. The key is just like driving as much economic transactions or economic like movement as possible. So just like the flow of money. And because of Lightning and eCash and all that stuff, it moves a lot quicker. And we just need volume and just like attracting more users. And yeah, like any way that can possibly bring in more people into the protocol is very 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 powerful. Because like for example, like one thing that I've thought of before is like so like at Shopstr we have our own payment checkout. We only use eCash like for the final payment. And like if people value anonymity and value privacy, they will be wanting to use that service. But then like Plebeian, for example, they have the option for on chain, just paying directly to the Lightning address. Maybe someone just finds that a bit more seamless and like they don't care about privacy or anything. They can easily switch over. But if they like how Shopstr lists products or how it displays them, they can just go over there and like list them, make it easy, seamless, and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of little pieces that a lot of people can very easily like favor and like want to use that application with. And since a Nostr key gets transferred over to every single account or every single application, you can just very simply move it and use the specific aspect of it that you really really like, and you won't have to be locked into the specific app. Like if I decide not to use Primal, I don't just lose my account and everything. I can just switch over and very easily start using the new features. Or if like you like multiple things, again, you just start using different things from each one. And due to the ability to port over the money very seamlessly, you can just monetize niches very very quickly. And that's probably one of the things that I've been seeing the most as well, is that there's kind of like regional applications that are like kind of starting to develop. Like even though like the network itself is like very interconnected, there's some that are just like focused on a specific area, location, or maybe specific community. And like that I think will be how eventually things kind of play out a bit. Like there will just be a lot of minor local applications that are able to capture like the value of that community, and like that should be enough to sustain yourself, especially now that we have what AI tools to build development, Bitcoin to like easily receive payment. You'll be able to actually sustain yourself if you just have like the 1,000 true fans, like essay, I forget who wrote it, but like, if you have 1,000 people that are willing to just pay you $5 a month, that's a pretty good income for, especially if you're just like a developer of one. Like you can just very easily sustain yourself. And like we have a lot of opportunity, but yeah, we're still at the early stages, but like it's starting to get there a lot, especially like how Primal's making it very very easy to onboard, and like just being able to like use immediately getting a Bitcoin wallet, just like be able to pay natively. Like it's making it very very easy.
Yeah, I think one of the things I hear from founders all the time is, you definitely want to niche down into
Mm.
a comfortable revenue stream, but at the same time, like not box yourself into something that you can't get yourself out of
Yeah,
because it is
yeah,
a
yeah,
revenue stream.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's always a careful line to walk. And so, yeah, I was just curious how you thought about that as you kind of navigated Shopster in the early days.
Yeah, and
Yeah, go ahead.
one of the cool things is that, or like I remember this quote from it's either Jack Dorsey or Jack Mallers, like about Bitcoin in particular. So it's like if any positive thing that is built out by Cash App, Strike, blah blah blah, like it helps the entirety of the network. It helps everyone else completely. So and like the exact same thing is kind of applicable to Nostr. Like when I build something out that like just improves the marketplace spec, it helps Plebeian, it helps Cypher, it helps a bunch of other companies that are building on that. And like for like the probably the best example was Amethyst. So like whenever we were first building it out, we had no users again, and like just a bunch of test posts, a bunch of random stuff. And then Amethyst, like or Vitor, who develops Amethyst, he just like saw the Shopstr site and was like, oh, this is really cool. And then like within a couple weeks, he integrated it into Amethyst, so like you're able to like post listings through Amethyst, and it shows up on Shopstr, and people. That's when like it just blew up. So like as soon as like we had someone who like saw the potential use case for like this type of thing, they integrated it. They have it started giving us usage, and more people, because they prefer the Shopstr checkout experience, they go to Shopstr even though they might browse or something on Amethyst. They just like see it there. So like it's just like it's a virtuous cycle that really helps everyone out whenever anything positive happens to one person. But yeah, the it's still important to consider exactly like the specific niche way to like get the revenue stream, because that's definitely the hardest part at this stage, because there's not too many relatively there's not too many users of Nostr at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the scariest thing. I think, but I think it's just one company just showing everybody that you can make money in Nostr, and then everybody will kind of, oh, you can make money, and then they'll start doing it. I think Primal's well on their way doing it. I don't know the figures or anything, but I think it just takes one use. I've just seen it too many times. In the space already at this point where it's. But I think that's what I'm saying. Like I would just, just think through, like making sure like Shopstr gets to revenue, and you're able to eat. It was like Shopstr guys are able to eat, and then after that, it's like, okay, how can I help the rest of the community? It's nothing personal. It's just like that's just what it takes to build a business.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you're still for mission and everything. You wouldn't be working on a Nostr company if you weren't. So talk about let's just keep going into Nostr, because I want to make sure that we hammer home on some of these things. So what do you think outside of users, maybe even outside of the payment stuff, what other advantages do you think is for somebody who's listening, who's maybe building out their first Nostr company or project, listening to this right now, and they're looking to you as for guidance on it? Where's a good place to start? And then not only that, but where's like where can you get a fast track to start building?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I think the most powerful thing about Nostr is just the fact that since you don't need anyone's permission to be able to build on it. So it's like, and you can just immediately generate a key pair, and if you get personally what we use to build out Shopstr is like Nostr tools. And like that's like a very powerful thing, especially because it simplifies a lot of like the event, Nostr event creation, but also still doesn't it doesn't abstract away all the technical complexity. So you still have to like somewhat understand the lower level stuff. So it's a really powerful library to be able to build stuff up. So that's like where I would start for sure. And since the data is already there, it kind of eases you. It like simplifies like just being able to like have data to test on and be able to work with whenever you're actually building the application. And like that's like you can just tap into whatever relay, just start fetching data and like playing around with it, doing anything that you want with it. And I guess also kind of going back to the interoperability of everything. One thing that I find that is very not what's a good word to use? That I guess like the wrong way of like kind of advertising Nostr is as a kind of like the free speech or social media specific protocol.
Really? That's an interesting take. Yeah, why is that?
Like I feel more so like, especially at the moment, like whenever you're trying to market it that way, it's kind of targeted towards users and trying to like capture like people into joining the protocol. But what I see as a more valuable angle is actually as just like infrastructure for like builders. So like a very powerful thing could potentially be I guess for my example. So like if people start listing illicit items on Shopstr, right? I would then have no real ability to be able to like, at the moment I have no real ability to be able to like take anything down. But like say I spun up my own relay, I can then have like a full control over the data set and like be able to like take things down, blah blah blah. And like if I'm a legal company and I have to like comply to regulations and all these things, like at some point you will have to take things down or just get shut down as a company in general. But if I run my own relay and I actually do start accepting like whatever censorship requests or any of these things, I start complying to it. Due to the fact that you're using Nostr, like users don't have to rely on your specific relay, your server. They can very easily have like their own lists and be able to like just operate outside of that network. So as a builder, I can actually still keep my like my values while complying to the law and give users the optionality and choice to be able to like operate within that system. And marketing it towards like, yeah, again, the social side of things, it gives us the wrong, I think, outlook and view on like what Nostr should be and how it should be behaving. Because like as you said, like it's not gonna take people knowing about Nostr, understanding how Nostr operates in order for people for like to get the mass adoption. It's gonna take a product that utilizes it in the right way. And it's and yeah, Primal is probably like the leading example at the moment, especially because of their focus on Zaps. Because I think it's incredibly important to actually focus on the payment side of things.
It's
Because
like, dude,
yeah,
it's like the best wallet I've used since
yeah.
Wallet of Satoshi. Like, and I'm not just saying that like as like just because I don't know how to use a wallet, a self-sovereign wallet. I'm just saying it because like, dude, Wallet of Satoshi was like literally the wallet that everybody used, right?
Yeah.
They still use it in Europe, but like, or in Mexico too. They still use Wallet of Satoshi, but here in America, like no one uses Wallet of Satoshi. But now Primal has become that wallet.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm
Go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off. I
no,
just had to
but
say
like,
that.
no, yeah, it's an important point because like now on Primal, if like I ship post and I like get a bunch of sats, whatever, I can then literally immediately go to another application. I can go to the coffee shop on the side of the street and pay for a coffee. I can go to Shopstr and buy an item. It's just like
Yeah.
money that was earned within the system that I could just immediately use without ever having to have touched anything else. So it's like that I think is the where things can actually flip because people will eventually realize that it's an actually better system. The thing is kind of it's still hard because obviously we're focused on like Bitcoin, like making it like obvious that we're using Bitcoin. But if we can kind of, again, like I had mentioned earlier, like if we can kind of like sneak it into and feed it to them a little bit like smoother, like that's why Nostr is actually a very powerful onboarding tool for Bitcoin because some people come to it not caring about Bitcoin at all. They just want to like, be able to like speak freely, talk about whatever they want. But then whenever they receive their first sats, then it's like, oh, cool. What is this thing that I'm receiving? It's like, oh, it's Bitcoin. Like, I didn't know you could do that with this. And then they then like fall down the rabbit hole and they're able to like actually be interested and like want to use it and earn and do other things with it. So yeah, and if we're focused on only the social side of things, at some point, like the only real sustainable social payment model is really just ads or like data collection at some stage. Like if we're not focused on actually sending money to others, then we're just recreating the old system. Sure, it's on a better foundation, more optional foundation, but that's like the initial clients that are just focused solely on the social aspect of things are not actually going to be able to be sustainable. That's why like marketplaces are the most obvious to like potentially be sustainable because of the fact that like money's moving around. But like Primal is doing a really good job of it because like they focus on like top zaps, like she's displaying like the like kind of the social status of being able to like send the highest level zap, and like you see like Marty, Ben, Odell like trying to out zap each other and stuff, and like people like actually earn money from all that stuff. So it's very important to be able to focus on those things. Otherwise, like Nostr, or at least like the app, some of the applications built on Nostr will kind of go down the old path without ever like kind of realizing the what was supposed to come out of Nostr itself.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's what's great about it is you're going to have all these different, hopefully amazing products that come out of Nostr at some point, right? And then just having that diverse set of like payment options, I think is another crucial component to it.
Yeah.
And then I think ultimately it just is just a user count number that just has to outpace everything else. And as long as each one of these products is bringing another user count, then it's just like it benefits all boats rise at that point. It's similar to Bitcoin in that kind of way. Cool. I want to talk about, okay, so let's get into just like more on the company stuff because I feel like I think we covered a lot of Nostr there. You dropped a lot of alpha there. So talk about how hard it is to build a Bitcoin company. And then after you do that, talk about how hard it is to build a Nostr / Bitcoin company because it's even harder because of the stuff that we just talked about. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like I guess like on yeah, on the Bitcoin side especially, like with all of like the privacy like focus attacks, like the rest of the Samurai wallet developers, and just like the Wasabi shutting down, like a lot of that stuff, it's just even as like not even starting a company, like it kind of like pushes you away and like makes you want to be like, shit, I don't know if this is like the right industry to be in. Like, what if something's gonna happen? Like, what if I go to jail or something? Anything of that nature. Like the yeah, I think like if you want to build in this industry, you actually have to be very passionate about it and be willing to bear whatever like risk or whatever like troubles like you kind of face, especially like just simply not you're not gonna have like the largest market opportunity, at least at the moment, because you're not capturing the world like Facebook is. You're just like focused on this like subset of Bitcoiners. But I think that's an incredibly powerful thing, because one, Bitcoiners are a little bit more accustomed to bugs, and like they're a little bit more willing to deal with a bit of the troubles and issues that they have. And since they're ideologically focused, like the main thing that they kind of want to see is like their vision of the future to come to life. So it does it's powerful because we already have like kind of a niche community to like build. And if you're trying to target the world like from the get go, like that's your first step, is to get the world, then like you're building on the wrong path. Like Facebook is obviously the best example of that. They focused on Harvard students trying to get that market. And once you can actually start at a very small market, then you can expand slowly and start building out and actually realizing that global vision that you want to see. And the most important thing is just passion. Like again, like if you're not really focused on like if you're not all in on this thing, you're not going to really make it to through the industry, because like you just realize how like even despite like how willing Bitcoiners are to like deal with the bugs and stuff, like you also see like how demanding like the community is with a lot of the product development. Like probably like Tony Giorgio, like the Muni Wallet founder, he had a very good write up like talking about all that stuff. How it's like, yeah, it's like there's so much, and then whenever you have like financial weight on you, like it's like shit, it's like my customers' money and stuff. Like I like it's so much pressure, and there's a lot of things you have to consider, especially if you want to build things privately and like do things like that. Now you have a legal front that you have to like battle, not only just a user front. So it's yeah, it's definitely a very difficult balance whenever you're getting in this industry. And then on the Nostr side,
Yeah, on
just
the
because
NOS
it's
side,
so
what is that
early,
like? Yeah, what's that like?
it's very interesting to see how like it's very interesting to see like or predict how it'll even play out. So like you're betting big on something that's like relatively new and still like decently small, even though there's a good amount of users on Nostr at the moment, but like still that are one willing to pay again, like that's probably one of the biggest issues in the like Bitcoin company space, especially if you're doing like a marketplace thing or just anything that like, wants people to send you money rather than it's a little bit easier with the wallet app potentially, just because people want to be able to like have their Bitcoin somewhere and like be able to transact, send it somewhere. um but whenever you're actually dealing with receiving money or like accepting payment, like a lot of Bitcoiners LARP and like they just hold, like they don't spend their Bitcoin. So it's like that's another like difficult thing, like just both on the Nostr and Bitcoin side, is that people just generally want to hold, obviously they want to hold like the best money in the world, so they want to be able to like save it and not necessarily have to spend it with everything. And like not all Bitcoiners in the space who even consider themselves Bitcoin maxis actually want to live on a Bitcoin standard. They just want to have it saved and held. So it's a very interesting problem having to change that consumer behavior of like wanting to actually spend the best money that you can hold. So that's a very good, difficult thing. But Nostr does make that a little bit easier, just for the fact of like the seamlessness of Zaps. Like Zaps are probably the biggest usage of Lightning in the world probably at the moment. Like maybe not in terms of volume, like in terms of actual monetary value, but like the people are zapping sats every single day, and like it's like we're actually using the Lightning network. So like Bitcoin's its own niche, Nostr's even a niche within the niche, so it's like even more of a small market to target. But like that's also where the opportunity lies. Like if you got into Bitcoin, started building Bitcoin businesses like very early on, like Jack Mallers being a good example of that, Strike being built out, like he captured such a good market, they're already profitable, like they're doing a fantastic business. But here on Nostr, since it's so early, you actually have a very big opportunity to be able to like build the experience that is actually convincing enough for the people within the space, and you'll have so much like time ahead of other builders that eventually come on. Like you understand the infrastructure, you know how things are building, you know the user base. Like you'll be able to actually tailor the experience so well to like either a niche or like a broader audience. So it's a very obviously it's a bet, but it's a very potentially very like powerful bet, especially like because the vision of Nostr is to kind of recreate the internet as we know it, like decentralize the internet, kind of make it permissionless as possible without having to rely on all the gatekeepers. And if you can tap into that, like it's like the sky's the limit. Like you could really like just open up so many possibilities with it.
Yeah, you're so right. I think I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. Because like technically, if you keep at this, you would probably be the most knowledgeable person in the world when it comes to marketplaces. You and probably a couple other people, and that's it. Like in like 2 to 4, you guys have like 2 to 4 years, and then before you know it, people are like, who's the guy to talk to about marketplaces on Nostr? It's like, oh, cow. And then next thing you know, yeah, you're the big fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. That's a great way to kind of keep you still focused on where you're headed. I mean, I love that. I love that kind of tenacity. I was telling the guys in the lab, they're like, why do you like Shopstr? Why do you like that team? And I was like, dude, Christian's just on another level as like just a founder. He's just so focused. I've never seen anybody kind of like that, dude. You don't really have to say it. I can just see it on your face all the time whenever I see you. It's just so focused, dude.
Which, you have to have long time preference in this industry. Like otherwise, like that's just general for like starting a company. You have to like think at least minimum in 10-year time frames. If you're not, then you're not going to be building it right, because you're going to just be thinking of like you're either going to like shit on your users in some way, or just like not really build out something that is really powerful or like successful.
Yeah. Let's talk about kind of the business side of things. How are you thinking through, obviously Nostr is going to grow at the rate it's going to grow, but do you see any kind of like clear shortcuts that you think Shopstr could make besides the payment stuff? I feel like we've touched on that, but like, do you think there's any other shortcuts that you could make that could kind of, it's kind of one of those things where like, I don't know if you remember that there was this one really great one really great Nostr app back in the day that was like a music thing, but you kind of see it with Tunester, where they're like bringing an entirely different demo to their platform. And I wonder, do you think there's a shortcut way for you keep bringing an entirely different demo into Shopstr where they probably won't even know they're using Nostr, right? Like, do you think about stuff like that? And like, if you had to pick like one thing, like, do you think there's a way to do that?
Yeah, like the first thing that came to mind is, because I've been thinking about this one for a while, is like and I guess it's like it sort of touches on payments, but not just like being able to buy something. Like one of the most powerful things would be like, say like Wavelake or just Spotify, one of like a music companies or the music streaming platforms, like if they somehow or like if we potentially like propose like the integration to be able to like say, okay, I go to the artist page and I can very easily just see like any of the products that they're listing on there. Like I can like, especially if you're like already zapping or using Bitcoin, you just zap, pay, boom, you have your merch. And like, or like, and because of the fact that you have like the items already listed like on like the artist page, and then they're integrated within whatever marketplace is there, Shopstr, Plebeian, Cypher, whatever else, and you can just very simply
that's such a great
buy
idea,
it
dude.
out there and do that stuff. Yeah, like that was like the one of the first things that came to mind, like in terms of like integration with anything, like especially with Wavelake, since they're already integrated with Nostr. Like if they just simply added that like ability to be able to buy a merch either natively within Wavelake or just like through the Shopstr site, just because of the fact that like it's interoperable with on the Nostr protocol. Like it's just a very powerful thing. Like just having ways of making it as easy as possible to be able to have products associated with specific individuals and be able to purchase them instantly is like incredibly powerful.
That's interesting. So you're thinking more like, okay, so maybe these kind of like Lego blocks then. So
yeah.
So maybe you would be like, okay, well maybe I could do this for Primal too as well, like you did initially for Amethyst, like, and it just becomes these different Lego block offerings that all get I don't know how to explain it, but I think I understand what you're trying to say.
No, yeah. Like basically, like being able to, like Amethyst is probably the best example of it, because Amethyst captures like, or like not captures, it uses every single like NIP. It implements everything. So it's like a good, like, it's like a hodgepodge of everything. And uh, because of that, like, people who use Amethyst have a lot of optionality and ability to like interact with the whole network, not just like the social media side of things. But because they're not focused on a specific avenue within like that like the specific like product type that they're implementing within it and like whatever NIP they're using. So like Amethyst has like TikTok like videos, they have Instagram pictures, they have product listings, they have a bunch of different stuff. And but they can't, obviously, as like a big application developer, you can't focus on every single one and make every single one a tailored niche experience. So it's very powerful for one, the application, because it gives optionality to the user. It allows them to do a lot of stuff. But the application that's like integrated with it, like the niche application, they actually can tailor a better experience. And whenever people are interacting with that specific like product, if it's specifically for products, if they're interacting with like a listing or want to buy something, like they'll be introduced to that type of event on Nostr, and then they'll be able to discover, okay, like actually there's this specific site that is like designed to work specifically with this type of event, and I can actually have a better experience with it, a more niche experience, one that's tailored towards that type of activity. So like whether it be like Zap.stream, Shopstr, and like just any like Zap.cooking, Olas, like the Instagram like client, like any of those things, like they actually deliver the niche experience, and the social platform introduces the users into that side.
That's fascinating. So this is probably a really dumb question, but I don't mind asking stupid questions. I love asking stupid questions. So could you make a Shopstr like NIP that Wavelake could implement, and then they would have like Shopstr like features?
Yeah.
And then let's say hypothetically though, Cal, like the rest of the shopping people that are doing similar things like you don't implement it, but Wavelake does. And you get a better experience, you get a better, tighter experience with Shopstr. Is that possible? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. And like that's like one of the things as well. Like if you're not, especially if you're trying to build out like on the niche, like the niche side of things, like marketplaces, if you're not like interoperating with the rest of the network, then you like, sure, you can maybe capture a specific amount of value, but then like, what's the point of even, like at that point, just don't even use Nostr, like just build a separate application that's not like interacting with the network. And yeah, like we're actually at the moment, I'm working with a couple other people.
Yeah, you were telling me, yeah.
Yeah, working with a couple other people to like build out like the marketplace spec to actually make it fully fleshed out and like being able to like interoperate within like all the other clients or any other client that wants to. And like a lot of the stuff that like makes it like specifically marketplace tailored is optional. So it's not necessary in order to like to be able to integrate and be able to like use that type of event to like follow every single thing. Because like a lot of it's just tailored towards like shipping information, blah blah blah, a bunch of other stuff. Like you don't necessarily need to have that in the music app. You can just have the ability to pay and check out. So like yeah, you can very very easily see a future where there's a lot of applications that are using very niche things and it just having them seamlessly integrated within it, and then other users come to the actual niche application to be able to like have the better experience. And that's
Because
like the thing people are trying to build right now.
Because at the end of the day, then once they have that experience on Wavelength, theoretically, then they would say, okay, let me go to Shopstr now,
Yeah.
and then control my whole kind of end-to-end
exactly.
experience for my store, basically.
Yeah. Like as an artist, as a music artist, you probably wouldn't be managing your products or anything, or like whoever's managing your products wouldn't be doing it so through Wavelength. That's specifically for like the music stuff. But you'd come to Shopstr, be able to manage your listings, do all that stuff, and be able to like have the necessary tools in order to be able to like do the things you actually need to in that specific avenue.
That makes a ton of sense. That makes a lot of sense now. Okay, so one of the things that eBay, I don't know if have you looked into eBay at all? I think I've talked about this many times with you before, but you know, one of the things they couldn't figure out how to do in the early days?
What?
Do you know what that was?
No.
Take a guess. What do you think it was? In the early days of eBay, what was the thing they couldn't figure out how to do? They had to go buy it, actually.
Payments.
Yeah, payments.
Yeah,
they couldn't figure out how to do payments.
Yeah.
So you got that unlocked, though, so you should be...
Yeah. And that's actually another very powerful thing about like eCash in general. Like the development time and skill required in order to like implement payments into your application just got dropped down significantly. like with cashew, for example, which is a version of eCash. I think the two biggest ones are cashew and Fedimint. Um, with cashew, there's literally like 5 or 6 lines of code, and you can issue a token. You can create a token and send it to someone, which is like all you need. You just need to be able to have the money and send it to someone, and like you can do that in a very, very simple amount of the very, very few lines of code, which is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Like now, payments can just like flow freely through the internet without having to like integrate Stripe, do PayPal, do all this KYC bullshit. Like you could just very simply get set up immediately and just like not have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because like eBay actually like they couldn't figure that out and they end up buying like PayPal for
PayPal, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I always thought that was fascinating, and but you got that unlocked, so that's where you'll have the upper hand. That's where because the other thing you had mentioned earlier about the Zaps and people not wanting to spend Zaps. I think at a certain point though, I don't think people are going to want to accept your fiat, and so I don't think people are going to have a choice. And I think when I say this all the time, people are like, "Oh, Car, you're just." I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm going to tell you no because I don't want your dirty fiat. I'm going to want Sats for my product. And do you see that future too, or
yeah. I completely agree because like that's why like another like important thing that like when building out the marketplace stuff is that at some point, like you said, like people are not gonna want to take like the fiat rails or be locked within that system, so they want to have it as easy as possible to earn money. And not only that, like at some point, like I eventually like Coinbase and like all the exchanges will go out of business because they will not have the Bitcoin, they will not have the Bitcoin to sustain the demand that people have. So the only way to be able to do things is to actually earn it. And what's the easiest way of earning it? To sell stuff online. Like if people are going to pay you in Bitcoin. Like it's the only way you're going to be able to access it. So there's going to be a lot of inflow and like a lot of demand for like making it as easy as possible to be able to earn Bitcoin. That's why on Nostr a lot, if you ever see me noting there, like I'm always talking about like earn ramps are better than on ramps. Like at some point, earn ramps will be the only thing that exists.
I love that. That's good.
You will not be able to on ramp. You will have to earn. That's the only thing.
I think we're already there. I mean, the 1,000 sat to dollar or to dollar parity right now is what's got me like full all in on this.
Yeah.
And it's only going to go lower. And then at some point, why am I going to take $20 instead of like, sats? That makes no sense. And then especially when my grocery store, who also now has, now it also takes Bitcoin all of a sudden because either Jack or one of the Jacks implements it, right?
Yeah.
Then at that point, like, why would I not pay in Bitcoin also if I'm earning in Bitcoin? To me, I always just thought that was a weird thing where like people just like don't want to accept that feature. I'm like, but yeah, like, have you played it out yet though?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it seems inevitable at some point. Like especially like if you're a Bitcoiner and you're like thinking in this avenue of like, oh, like I want a hyper Bitcoinized future, blah blah blah. Like it's like you will have to earn. Like you can't. There's no future where you're gonna be wanting to accept the fiat. And like another thing against like that I hear always against like spending your Bitcoin, which is like it's still happening. Like people are still trying to come to the idea of actually spending it. But another thing I hear is that like, oh, like because it goes up in value, you have to, you want to keep it. Why would you want to spend it? But then it's like, you can't live your life without spending some money. Like at some point you have to sell. You have to buy like food. You have to be able to pay rent. You have to be able to do all these things that actually support your life. And having it, like, hopefully if we have the systems in place in order to like people already selling steaks, already selling milk, already selling butter, all these things, I can just pay in Bitcoin directly. And like, you have to buy that stuff. Like it's not just it's not a black and white thing where it's like I either spend or I don't. Like at some point you will have to live within the Bitcoin system if the future that we expect to like realize will actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, it might even be like the last thing will probably be like electricity companies or like your water company.
Yeah, any of the government stuff.
Yeah, it'll probably be those, right? That'll probably be the last ones. But even then, I think getting like a gift card or something to pay that would it be too hard? I always just like am shocked that when people say that, but it's good to hear that you're thinking already in this kind of this direction. I guess we're coming up the top of the hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but let's talk about the like advice that you would give to other people that are just trying to get started with building something that they're passionate about, Cal. Like, what were some of the things that inspired you early on because you said that you were waiting a couple of years before you found your calling with Shopstr. Like, what would you tell somebody who's listening to this and they're like, man, I really look up to Cal who's building Shopster. I like the app. It's cool. I have the t-shirt, all this stuff. I want to build something cool like that. Like, where would you say to go find that inspiration to go find something that they want to build or they want to be able to do? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think probably the most important thing is one, just getting started, and then two, community. So like with getting started, like the reason I never it took me a while to like get into Bitcoin is because I thought like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like people are gonna like not think that I'm like good enough for this stuff. But once I actually started building, I realized one, nobody cared. Like one, no, at first no one cares what you're doing. Like they're just not gonna stop you from doing a bunch of things that you want to do. So if like if you just get started, you realize, okay, like no one's watching me. Why should I care what other people's opinions of me are whenever I'm building? And I'll just throw it out there. And like once you actually have the product, then people can start giving you feedback and can start iterating and start building. And like the most important thing is just throwing something out there. Because if you're just sitting around idle, like wanting to build something, then like you're never gonna actually like be able to realize that the opportunity. And the second thing was community. Like I say that because like when I first found out about Nostr and wanted to build an application, what I did was actually, because I was based out in Texas at that time in Dallas, and I saw this hackathon event that was happening in San Francisco, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like I'll just fly there and like build there. And I just like bought a ticket like the week before, flew out to San Francisco, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it. Now I'm gonna just start building my application, like just crank something out, anything. And I actually didn't end up building a Nostr application. Ended up building like a little Lightning wallet, and that just got me the motivation. And like the people around me, like there at that event, I met like a bunch of other Bitcoiners, and like I was like, oh, this is the first time I've interacted with like actual Bitcoiners in person, like it's like kind of in a serendipitous way. And then like you just kind of start getting like a little bit of the wheels turning and people like telling you different things, like getting at different ideas. And it's like, okay, awesome. Like now I can interact and like build out exactly what I want to do. And like whenever like we were in Top Builder, like whenever we were in Austin, like it's just an amazing experience to be able to like be surrounded by people who are like encouraging you or like also building parallel things and building in a similar manner. And I was a part of this thing called Sovereign Engineering, which is based out in Madeira. And like they have a bunch of cohorts where like they bring a bunch of developers like there, just like build. And like after that, that's when I really like they just went all in on like the company, because I was like, okay, like now I actually have a community of people that's around me to like support me, and like I can bounce ideas off of and like really like build and focus in on what I want to. So it's like, yeah, there's a good line, I forget who said it, but it's like proximity is power. It's like whenever you're near the people, that even if they're not necessarily in like the same passionate thing that you are, just people that are like highly motivated to do other things, like it just rubs off on you. Like you just want to like, man, like you get the itch to like do something and like really want to like dive into everything. So it's very important to just, yeah, again, throw something out there. Anything. It can be a just dumb little like personal website. It could be just like a little like button that you click, just like anything that you can actually experiment, show like live and have usable. Like even if it breaks half the time or whatever, just anything that you can like just deploy, and then being like in an area that is actually conducive of just like serendipitous ideas, like meeting people and like being engaging with the community. Like it's very, very, very powerful thing just to be surrounded by people who are doing awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's great advice. Last thing, where can people find you? Where can people contribute? Where can people check out Shopstr, all that stuff?
Yeah, so if you're trying to find me, I only have Nostr, so I'm Calvadev at shopstr.store on Nostr. That's my NIPO 5. I can't read out my pub key. That would be way too long. So Calvadev at shopstr.store on Nostr. Shopstr.store is the URL for visiting Shopstr if you want to like buy and sell stuff for sats. If you want to contribute, Shopstr is open source, so you can go to our GitHub. It's Shopstr-eng. So that you'll be able to find it if you go on GitHub and like put that in. So it's that's pretty much it. Like if anyone ever is willing to contribute or like want to do anything, you can open an issue. Just at me on Nostr. I'll make sure to reply. Like I engage with a lot of the merchants and customers that are like using the site in order to troubleshoot and do all that stuff. So that's another powerful thing of Nostr. Like it's like one of the few places you can like directly contact the dev. Like CEO of Primal, Miljan, he's like always like responding to people and like getting troubleshooting tips. So yeah, another great thing.
Awesome.